"I can finally fire a loser like you," she said. "You're incompetent trash and you're fired." I was helplessly forced to resign, tormented by a boss who twisted her beauty into something devilish as she laughed. "My name is Michael. I work for a subcontracting company for a publishing house, struggling through another packed schedule today. I don't get hospitalized anymore, but as a kid, I had frequent asthma attacks and couldn't let go of my inhaler during attacks. At night, I couldn't lie down to sleep without endless coughing and breathing difficulties, so I just propped up some pillows and pretended to sleep. There was no rest for me as a child. I would plaintively tell my mom, "Mom, it's too hard to sleep," despite it being a usual attack. My mom would patiently stay by my side. "That's okay, Michael. I'll read you a book until you can fall asleep," she would say. She would pull all kinds of books from my dad's study and read them to me, old picture books, encyclopedias about animals and space, and sometimes novels that were too hard for a grade schooler. Thanks to that, even though I was terrible at physical education, I excelled in other subjects. Those sleepless nights weren't just about suffering for me. My dad was an avid book collector and would happily listen to my book reviews. "Michael, you're great for an elementary schooler. If you like Mark Twain, try reading Ernest Hemingway," he'd say. "Ernest Hemingway is long. Well, maybe by the time you're in middle school. I'm looking forward to it." My dad passed away when I was in the 6th grade due to pancreatic cancer. It was too late when we realized it. Life became harder, and I spent my 3 years of middle school watching my mom work hard every day. "I want to work after middle school," I said. "Don't be silly. You're smart like your dad. I'll make sure you can go to college," my mom replied. But I didn't want to burden her anymore, so we compromised that I would work after high school. During those tough times, we decided to sell most of Dad's books. It was sad to see the empty bookshelves, but letting go of the books didn't erase the memories with my parents. During high school, I worked part-time jobs non-stop to help my mom. I was pretty proud to be able to buy my own phone with my earnings. But my inherited love for books from my dad always got the better of me, and I'd often find myself about to buy interesting new releases at the bookstore. Hardcover novels are kind of expensive, not something a high schooler with just an allowance could afford. Many times when that happened, I'd reserve them at the local library. I might have to wait a bit for new releases, but hey, reading for free is awesome. One day while making my regular library trips during breaks from work, I noticed this guy who was always there at the same time reading the newspaper in the same spot. He dressed casually, but had this unique sense of cleanliness with his crisply ironed slacks. He seemed about the age my dad would be if he were still alive. Our eyes met once when I was looking at him. He was a friendly man and struck up a conversation. "You come here often, don't you? Borrowed any new books?" "Yeah, you're always reading the newspaper. Don't you read books?" He told me it was his morning routine to read the newspaper and then a novel. Not many kids at school read print media, and my mom is so busy that we often miss each other. I was thrilled to finally have someone to share my love of reading with. He was really surprised to find out I was still in high school. "You're quite mature and quick with it. I'm impressed. Aren't you young to be reading that book?" Turns out he had already checked out the new mystery novel I just borrowed and was happy to discuss it with me. "It's super interesting. It's by a new author, but I bet it'll win an award." Our conversations reminded me of the times with my dad, and he seemed to enjoy our book talks, treating me like a younger buddy with a shared interest. This continued until I graduated high school. Back then, I dreamed of working at a prestigious publishing house, but job hunting was tough. The big publishing houses I admired prioritized educational background for fresh graduates and exceptional experience for mid-career hires. We didn't have the savings for me to go to college. I sent out countless resumes and shared my passion, but kept getting rejected. It felt like a personal denial after a while, frustrating and disheartening. I wanted to be an editor, supporting authors, and helping bring more exciting stuff into the world. But reality was harsh. Sometimes passion alone isn't enough. Finally, I broadened my search and met Thomas, the CEO of my current company, a small subcontracting company where even the CEO gets involved in interviews. But the CEO was a humble and good person. He took pity on me after my numerous rejections and offered a trial period with the promise of a full-time position if things went well. It wasn't exactly the dream, but having a decent salary helped ease our family's financial strain. Mom doesn't have to cram in as much work now, and even put on a little weight. Thomas occasionally brings snacks to interact with the employees. "Michael, how are you settling in? Our print shop is small and busy, right?" "No way, I love it. I've always wanted to work with books," I replied. A colleague repeatedly said, "Michael is really doing a great job. His work is meticulous, and it's nice to have a good kid like him around." Thomas seemed pleased with the way things were going at the workplace. It was a physically and mentally demanding job, but all my colleagues were nice people, and I thought I was lucky to have such a good workplace. But back then, I had no idea what was coming. 4 years after I joined the company, Thomas brought someone he wanted everyone to meet, his own daughter, Rachel. She was a beautiful lady dressed in a navy blouse and a laced pencil skirt, looking every bit the capable office worker. She had just graduated from college. I might sound like a doting father, but she's my daughter. I'm sure she'll do great here too. But don't hold back just because she's the boss's daughter. "Everyone, please be nice to her," Thomas said. Rachel bowed gracefully. "I look forward to learning from all of you." Rachel was quick to pick up the work and delivered much faster than required by her clients, boosting her performance rapidly. My colleagues jokes, "She's really good at her job. At this rate, she'll surpass us soon." And true enough, she became a manager in no time. After Rachel became a manager, Thomas seemed completely reassured and stopped coming to the workplace. That's when Rachel started showing her true colours. Sometimes she'd scold her subordinates, saying, "Why are the deadlines always late? Don't tell me you're slacking off under the guise of external meetings." Other times, she'd harshly criticise, "Who made this estimate? I'll redo it. If you can't handle it, don't add unnecessary work." The workplace atmosphere grew progressively worse. One by one, my colleagues who had fought alongside me for 4 years left, and before I knew it, I was the only one who knew Rachel from her early days. The team had completely changed. They were all kind-hearted and diligent people, capable of better treatment elsewhere. I went to work each day trying my best not to show the gloominess I felt inside. Once Rachel pointed out to me, saying, "You look so gloomy. You're bringing down the mood." Since then, I've been desperately trying to stay on her good side to avoid becoming a target of her bullying. Clients started to worry, asking, "Michael, are you okay? You seem to have lost a lot of weight," and giving me puzzled looks when the number of accounts I managed suddenly decreased. The workload, which was already heavy, started to weigh down on both me and Rachel. Even as people left, the work didn't decrease. Driven to keep Rachel out of my mind, I started working with intense determination, and finally, I reached the top in sales performance. As I was dragging my exhausted body home one day, Rachel called me in. "Michael, can I have a word with you?" What could it be? Had I made a mistake at work? I have been so careful not to upset Rachel recently. I can't think of any reason for being called in. With an uneasy feeling, I went to see her, only to be told, I wouldn't mind dating you. Incredibly, I'm being confessed to by Rachel. I can't make sense of it. I mean, I'm willing to date you. You're always looking at me, and you talk to me more than any other employees. I thought maybe it's time I reciprocated her attention, because she was difficult to deal with, and my talking to her was to keep the peace, not because I liked her. Was she not aware of how much her juniors feared her? If you date me, even someone with a low educational background like you could climb up the career ladder. Aren't you lucky? I heard about your struggles in a single-parent household and how you barely got into this company, thanks to my father's kindness. On the other hand, I became a manager soon after joining an elite. Honestly, someone like me is too good for you, Rachel said. I couldn't believe she was saying this to someone she was considering dating. I thought she might be playing hard to get, but I can't find her even remotely cute. I firmly declined. Rachel, when did I ever say I liked you? Well, that's the impression you gave with your behavior. I just want to get along with everyone at work as colleagues. I've never seen you as a romantic interest. Sorry if I gave you the wrong idea, I said. Rachel was frozen, clearly not expecting to be turned down. It's awkward to reject someone you don't like. Anyway, see you at work tomorrow. I added, hardly leaving the office, eager to escape the awkward situation. From the next day, Rachel's excessive harassment began. Once, when I returned from an outside meeting, I found my desk completely soaked in water, and the fabric of my chair was stained. It was hot outside, wasn't it? I made it cooler for you, she said. Really? What is she, a high school girl? On another day, the estimate I had finally completed was missing from my computer, and a sample of the magazine we were supposed to deliver was found in the shredder. I suspected Rachel's doing, but there was no proof. I worked all night to finish everything and managed to deliver just in time. So you've finally delivered. Incompetent people really have it tough. Be sure to thank the lenient client. She taunted me insincerely. Moreover, she kept piling on overtime work, saying, "Since you can't do your job like others can, you work a bit more. You're stealing a salary, aren't you?" Ever since the day of her confession, it was clear that I was her target for harassment. Perhaps thanks to that, her treatment of other employees, like saying, "Good job, I'll take it from here," seemed to improve somewhat. Thinking that my sacrifice was protecting my juniors, just as my colleagues who had left asked me to, made it more bearable. However, the office girl, scared by her previous behavior, flinched even at normal words of encouragement. One of them bowed apologetically to me and left the room. Seeing this, Rachel clicked her tongue at me. Whether underperforming or overperforming, I was always subjected to her sarcasm, and the overall sales performance was declining. Even if Rachel and I were doing well, it wouldn't sustain a company. I wondered if it was time to report her behavior to the CEO. Then one day an even bigger problem arose. Our printing company had two major clients. One was a major women's magazine, Apple Sapling Publishing. The other was a prestigious William Bucker, known for its serious publications. I got a furious call from Apple Sapling saying the magazine we were supposed to receive still hasn't arrived. Put Michael on the phone. Somehow, I was listed as the responsible person. I had no recollection of taking on such a task, but after their insistence, I had to apologize. I apologized profusely for a mistake I didn't remember making, but they ended the contract, saying, "We will not be doing any business with your company in the future." How did things end up like this? Feeling empty, I was heading back to my desk when Rachel stopped me. Rachel twisted her beauty into a sinister smile. You've really done something terrible, haven't you? Ruining such a big contract. You're not fit for this company. I don't understand, I said. There's no place for you in this company anymore, Rachel continued, seeming to enjoy herself way too much. Now I understand. This whole thing was her doing, but I don't have any evidence right now to accuse Rachel of her misdeeds. She went to such lengths, causing trouble for another company just to corner me. I can finally fire a loser like you. Incompetent trash like you are fired, she said. I'm sorry, Thomas. I'm just too tired, fed up with everything. I decided to resign. After submitting my resignation, I spent my days lazing around at home. For the first time in a while, my mom, noticing my weight loss, kept trying to feed me more. I had to be careful not to gain too much weight. It seems she used the money I sent to restore my father's book collection, and the book shelves were lively again. Reading while drinking in my dad's chair during the day felt like a luxury. The Ernest Hemingway books, which seemed long when I was in elementary school, now had a deeper flavour. One day I got a call from an unknown number. I ignored it, thinking it was a scam, but it kept calling day after day. So I finally answered. It was Rachel. You finally picked up, Rachel said, sounding exhausted even over the phone. She explained why she called. Apparently, the chairman of the last major contract we had threatened to cut ties if I left. If we lost that contract, the company would go bankrupt. So she wanted me to come back. Who are you, Michael? I had no idea you had such connections with major clients. I didn't understand it myself. I was reluctant to go back to the company I had quit, but I hadn't properly said goodbye to Thomas and my juniors. So I reluctantly went with some gifts. After greeting my juniors, I headed to the reception room. There I found Thomas, Rachel, and, to my surprise, that old man from my high school days. Michael, this is Chairman William, Thomas said. The chairman of William Betrayal, who we always rely on. You seem to know each other. William, now revealed as a chairman, was as cheerful as ever. It's been a while, hasn't it, Michael? I think it's been 5 years since we last met face to face. You seem well too, I said. I had no idea you were the chairman of William BTO. Well, I never mentioned it, William replied. I just wanted to be friends with you as a fellow book lover. As you get older and more important, it's hard to make new friends. Rachel looked astonished at my familiar interaction with the chairman. Why would someone like you know William? She seemed to want to say. Thomas. I joined the conversation. Michael, as you might have heard from Rachel, William values you highly. He even said he would terminate the contract if you aren't the point of contact. Would you consider coming back to our company? We really need you. Thomas lowered his head. William also inquired why I suddenly left. Does Thomas not know about Rachel's misdeeds? I wondered. I'm flattered by your offer. I replied, but did anyone tell you I resigned? I heard from Rachel it was for personal reasons. Your mother is unwell, right? I understand it's a difficult time, but what do you think? It's all fabricated, I continued. Any small sense of obligation I had left was gone. The reason I resigned was because I couldn't tolerate Rachel's misdeeds. Rachel, I spoke my thoughts to her. I still can forgive you, but I know when you were a newcomer, you worked harder than anyone and became a manager. You're an incredible person. That's why I'm sorry I couldn't admonish you as a subordinate. It's too late now, but I really wanted to be closer to you. Rachel, unable to speak, sobbed and, after calming down, admitted all her wrongdoings and sincerely apologized. I'm truly sorry for everything I've done. Honestly, I wanted to be loved by you too. A month after this conversation, I'm being rigorously trained in editing by William himself. I'm back to busy days, but as William said, it's much more enjoyable than before. Chairman William, knowing me from the past, used a quote from some book. Not all those who lack money are talented, but it's true that many talented people don't have money. I find it enjoyable to find and support such people. Soon after, I was able to bring 2 bestsellers into the world. They were books I proudly completed in collaboration with the authors, working hand in hand. The company I left reportedly went bankrupt. Thomas is using his savings to apologize to Rachel's victims. Rachel is starting from scratch in a completely unrelated company, helping with the family finances. I hope she faces her actions. While having coffee with the chairman, I quietly reflected. Despite everything that's happened, I think I've overcome my past for who I am today. I'm happy to have my dream come true. The chairman replied with his usual cheerful smile, "Don't talk as if you've burned out. You're just starting, you rookie editor."
I recently saw your father, and he appears to be just as stupid as you. He's probably just another uneducated high school graduate, am I right? What did you just say? Those remarks set off a wave of rage that I was unable to control. This man, who had just succeeded the previous CEO of the company, was the type of person who denigrated people based on their level of education. But offending my father as well as myself, that was going too far. Are you even aware of the distinction between appropriate and inappropriate speech? And you, how dare you address the CEO in such a manner? You hear me? You're fired, fired, fired. Simply remove all of your previous work data and leave the organization. Your work probably wasn't worth much anyway because you're just a low-educated nobody. I was at a loss for words. It was up to him whether or not he wanted me to erase anything. I questioned whether he had any understanding what his own directive would do to the corporation. Most likely, he had never dreamed about it. Alex is my name. I started working for a shipping company after high school and have remained there ever since. After high school, I had originally intended to attend a metropolitan college, but for one straightforward reason, I decided to work instead. I was still in high school when it all began. Alex, they found out your father is sick. What? Is it sick? Will he be all right? For now, yes, but he'll need to be hospitalized. No way. Health issues have always been a problem on my dad's side of the family. The same disease also claimed the life of my dad's mother, my grandma. I do recall hearing something similar in the past. It seemed far away at the moment, like a fiction that might occur but wasn't actually a part of my life. Now, the awful weight of our family's genetic past hit me hard when I watched my dad get sick. What will we do if my dad needs to be admitted to the hospital? What about the house? Almost everything. She sighed wearily. I don't know what to do, my mother said. My dad wasn't the only member in our family with poor health. Due to health problems, my mom was also unable to work outside the home full-time. It was obvious that she wouldn't be able to provide for the entire family, and she could hardly manage a part-time job. I couldn't possibly attend college under these circumstances. I've decided on something. I'm going to find employment. What? However, you consistently expressed a desire to attend college. It's all right. You don't need to be concerned about us at all. It's not a question of worrying or not. Mom, I want to go to work. I'll just begin my profession a little early than other people, so don't worry. It was true that I had desired to attend college, but the expense of doing so was high. My mom was scarcely able to work, and my dad's hospital bills were mounting. I simply couldn't afford to go to college in that circumstance. For everything they had done to raise me, I owed them. In that way, altering my course didn't seem like much of a sacrifice. The real challenge came after that. Because of the timing of my dad's illness, finding a job was incredibly difficult. Job hunting for high school graduates had long since ended, and companies that hired people like me were hard to come by. Well, technically, there were plenty of opportunities, but most of them were in construction, trucking, or caregiving, fields that demanded physical labor. If I didn't care about the type of job, I could have easily found work anywhere. However, probably due to my family background, I wasn't very physically strong, which was a major drawback. Time wasn't on my side, but if I rushed into a demanding job and ended up collapsing myself, it would defeat the entire purpose. I had to be careful and selective with my job search. Using employment offices and job search websites, I desperately looked for a job that suited me. That's when I found my current position at the logistics company. Logistics often brings to mind physical labor like transportation and processing, but back then, there happened to be an opening for an administrative role, so I applied for that position instead. With management and office work, I knew I could handle it. As it turned out, the job suited me perfectly. At first, I struggled to learn the ropes, but once I got used to it, it wasn't difficult at all. Sure, there were challenges, but compared to physical labor, it was much easier. Perhaps because I was a high school graduate, my colleagues often looked out for me. "Hey Alex, you've already gotten this far." "Yes, I figured I could finish it up quickly. You're a fast learner." "It's a big help, but don't overwork yourself. Make sure to take breaks, okay?" "Yes, I'll make sure to rest as I go." "Your health is everything." "Oh, here, you can have this. I got an extra one from the vending machine." "Really? Thank you so much." Thanks to such supportive interactions, I quickly became part of the team. It wasn't just my effort, it was proof that this is a good company. If it weren't, they wouldn't have taken the time to teach me thoroughly, nor would I have grown so much. Not only did my colleagues treat me kindly, but my work was also recognized, and I was gradually entrusted with more responsibilities. I found fulfillment in the work itself and genuinely felt I had made the right choice. Then, one day, Mr. Kennedy, the CEO, is going to be hospitalized. What? Hospitalized? Is he going to be okay? Yeah, it's not an urgent illness, but he'll need to stay in the hospital for a while. Hospitalized. It immediately reminded me of my dad. Just like Mr. Kennedy, my dad had suddenly been hospitalized. It felt too close to home to brush off as someone else's problem. When I mentioned my father's situation, my colleague looked surprised. "It's the same illness as Mr. Kennedy's." "Really?" "Yeah. I hope your dad recovers soon, Alex." "Thank you. But what's going to happen to our company while Mr. Kennedy is in the hospital?" "Don't worry about that. It seems his son will be stepping in as the new CEO." He has a son. That was news to me. However, Mr. Kennedy is at an age where having children wouldn't be surprising. It makes sense that he has a son. His son's name was Randall. He was 3 years older than me, so not much of an age gap. His father had fallen ill with the same condition when he was around my age. That made me feel a certain sense of kinship with him. He had been working at a small company until now, but his father's illness prompted him to resign. It seems he's joining our company as a result. I wondered what kind of person he was. Then the day finally came. I noticed someone unfamiliar at the company and quickly realized it was Randall, the new CEO. I decided to introduce myself and walked over to him. "Nice to meet you. You're the new CEO, Randall, right? I'm Alex." Instead of responding to my greeting, he blatantly stared me up and down. What's going on? Did I do something strange? Or is there something on me? Just as I was about to check myself, Randall suddenly snorted with laughter. "Oh, I know who you are. You're Alex, the high school graduate, right?" "What? A mere high school graduate? How did someone like you even get hired here? Was my dad blind when he made that decision?" "What do you mean by that?" I asked. "It means having someone as uneducated as you here is embarrassing. and not understanding that is exactly why you've stayed so low on the ladder. I couldn't believe it. Was he seriously insulting me the first time we met, and over my education, no less? Stunned by the sheer audacity of his words, I stood frozen as Randall turned and walked away without another glance. I never expected to be insulted like that. From that moment on, Randall's attitude toward me remained consistently condescending and dismissive. One day, despite there being janitorial staff, I was made to clean the restroom with the remark, "There's no work suited for someone with low education." On another day, I was handed menial tasks that someone else should have done, with the excuse, "I'd rather give work to someone with a proper education." And that wasn't all. Even though I had made it clear I couldn't do physical labor, he still made me organize the warehouse. To be treated so differently just because of my education was unbelievable. I wanted to complain, but he was the new CEO, after all. Not to mention, he was the son of Mr. Kennedy, someone I deeply respected. Swallowing all the things I wanted to say, I continued to do the work as Randall demanded. "By the way, I saw your dad," he said out of nowhere. Randall approached me with a smug grin, and I braced myself, thinking he was about to dump more chores on me. But instead, he said this, "You saw my dad. Where?" "At the hospital. I saw him when I was visiting my dad." I knew they had the same illness, but I didn't expect them to be in the same hospital. While I was still processing this, Randall continued, "He looked as dumb as you do. I bet he's just another high school graduate. Or maybe he didn't even finish high school." His words dripped with condescension, and I couldn't pull back anymore. He could say whatever he wanted about me, but dragging my father into it and insulting him for no reason, that was too much. "You're crossing the line," I said. "What do you even know about my father?" "What? I'm just stating facts. You don't even know the truth. All you do is throw insults. Can't you tell the difference between what's acceptable and what's not?" "Shut up. And you, how dare you speak to the CEO like that? Do you even know your place? This isn't about titles or education. This is about basic human decency. Always acting so self-righteous. Someone like you, who can't even speak respectfully to the CEO, is fired. Get out of my company." Randall raised his voice as if to declare I was in the wrong. Fired over this? It was absurd. Clearly, he was the one out of line. His face flushed with anger as Randall spat his next words at me. "People like you, with no education, don't leave behind anything of value. Delete all the data from your work and get out of here immediately." "All the data?" I asked. "Yeah, your work doesn't contribute to the company's profit anyway. Low education and useless work just take up space. So delete it all and leave." "Are you sure about that?" "What? Still talking back to me?" "No, it's fine. I understand. I'll delete everything and leave the company." I had so much I wanted to say, but it was pointless. Anything I said would fall on deaf ears with him. So I did as I was told, deleted all the work data I had accumulated and left the company. Well, since I'm on my way home anyway, I might as well stop by the hospital. Normally, I wouldn't make it in time for visiting hours, but getting fired has freed up my schedule. What a cruel irony. I never thought it would come to this. What should I even say? After picking up some fruit as a gift, I headed to my dad's hospital room. He looked surprised when he saw me. "Alex? What are you doing here at this hour? What about work?" "I got fired." I told him everything that had happened, hiding nothing. He probably never imagined I'd be fired for such a ridiculous reason. My dad was speechless the entire time. I still couldn't believe it myself. When I finished explaining, my dad looked at me with a mix of sympathy and disbelief. "I can't believe something like that happened." "Yeah, me neither. But it's fine. I'll just start job hunting again." "No, you won't need to. There's a place you can work." "What?" The next day, My phone buzzed with an incoming call. When I checked the screen, Randall's name was displayed. Might as well pick up the phone. Hello. Alex. What's going on? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. The inventory management system isn't working. You did this, didn't you? Oh, that. You're the one who told me to delete all the data, remember? Alex. I was simply following orders. When I was told to delete all the data and leave the company, I even double-checked and make sure you were serious. By now, the company must be flooded with complaints. After all, the system is used by 4,200 companies. If it suddenly stops working, it's not just our company that's in trouble. I've always had a good memory. Maybe my brain developed to compensate for my weak body. For that, I'm truly grateful. I used this sharp memory to start learning programming back in middle school, thinking it might be useful for work one day. I actively studied and built up my knowledge, and in this company, I finally got the chance to put my programming skills to use. I developed an inventory management system that was far more efficient than anything offered by other companies. In other words, the system this company relies on was created by me. So when he told me to delete all the data, the system itself was included in that. Though I might have gone too far, it's not right to cause so much trouble for everyone. I'll head back now and restore everything. Hurry up and get here. I couldn't help but notice how arrogant Randall was acting, but I reluctantly returned to the office. Thankfully, I had kept a backup, so restoring the system was successful. However, one question lingered in my mind. Why didn't you use the backup I told you about? As I pondered this, a senior colleague approached me and quietly explained. He didn't want to rely on you and hired a cheap contractor to restore the system. What? But the contractor botched it, making things worse. The problem escalated, and he had no choice but to call you. Honestly, is he an idiot? His unnecessary pride only caused more damage. I was too stunned to even respond. Well, the system is restored now. This is all your fault. What? Because of you, we've suffered massive losses. What are you going to do about it? My fault. You're responsible. You'll pay the damages, no matter what. You've got to be kidding me. He was the one who messed up the system without even listening to me first. Since I was fired, I'm no longer an employee here. I don't owe them anything, not even the effort I've put in so far. Yet, instead of gratitude, he's demanding compensation. As I stood there dumbfounded, someone who wasn't supposed to be here suddenly appeared. Don't spout nonsense. This isn't his fault, but it's yours, a voice declared. Dad, why are you here? Standing there was none other than Mr. Kennedy. Even Randall, who always acted so confident, looked visibly shaken. It turned out that on the day I told my father everything in the hospital, Mr. Kennedy had overheard the conversation. I never imagined they were in the same hospital room. At this point, it felt like fate had intervened. Hearing about Randall's outrageous behavior, Mr. Kennedy was deeply disappointed. As his only son, Mr. Kennedy had worked hard to ensure Randall could attend a good college. He used to be a diligent student, and his efforts paid off when he got into college. He successfully completed his degree and graduated. But perhaps the diligence had backfired, turning him into an elitist obsessed with academic backgrounds. Since Randall had never displayed this attitude in front of his father, Mr. Kennedy had no idea how bad it was. He apologized to me repeatedly, and though I wasn't at fault, it made me uncomfortable. There's something awkward about being bowed to by someone you respect so much. After hearing the full story, Mr. Kennedy couldn't stand by any longer, which is why he showed up at the company that day. I've heard everything from Alex. I had no idea you'd sunk so low. What are you talking about? This disaster is the result of your obsession with academic credentials. You'll take responsibility for it. Why should I have to take responsibility? Still don't get it. You're so fixated on academic achievement that you've lost sight of what truly matters. Enough is enough. Dad, the conversation is over. You've disappointed me. Not only will you leave the company, but you'll also leave my house. No, this can't be. In the aftermath, the company went bankrupt. The damage from the incident spread far beyond just this company. The financial losses were so severe that recovery was impossible. However, Mr. Kennedy had been quietly working on a certain plan behind the scenes. The launch of a new business venture. The place to work, my dad mentioned that day in the hospital, was referring to this project. Apparently, Mr. Kennedy had been preparing for the new business for some time, but was unfortunately struck by illness midway through. Even while recovering, he continued to move the project forward with the help of others. When Mr. Kennedy was discharged from the hospital, the new company was officially established. Although the previous company went bankrupt, all of us employees transitioned to the new company, avoiding unemployment. At first, I wasn't sure how things would turn out, but I'm truly grateful for Mr. Kennedy's foresight and efforts. The other employees were overjoyed, enthusiastically declaring to Mr. Kennedy, "Long live the CEO. We'll follow you forever." And the good news didn't stop there. "Dad, congratulations on your discharge." "Ah, thank you. Sorry for causing so much trouble." "It's fine. You were sick, so there was nothing you could have done about it." Yes, my dad had finished his treatment and was finally discharged from the hospital. Although he'd still need follow-ups, there were no major after-effects. I was so relieved he could come home safely. By the way, about the future. The future? Mr. Kennedy reached out to me. He said if I couldn't go back to my old job, I could join his new company instead. Really? Yes. I couldn't believe Mr. Kennedy had even made such an offer to my dad. It was true that after a long hospital stay, returning to his previous job would be difficult. That's why this offer must have been such a relief for my dad. After that, we started working at the new company that Mr. Kennedy had founded. I continued to use my programming skills to develop new systems. Improving efficiency and processes in the workplace was certainly important, but I had a specific goal I wanted to achieve. I aimed to create a system that allowed people to work from anywhere. There are many people who, for various reasons, can't work in a traditional office setting. I believe this system was necessary to ensure their skills and passion wouldn't be wasted. When I proposed the idea, Mr. Kennedy immediately agreed, and I began development without delay. It took some time, but the system was finally completed. By promoting this system, we were able to attract talented individuals who couldn't physically come to an office, and they joined the company. There are surprisingly many people who want to work but can't. People like my family, who are physically weak, or those who can't commit to long-term employment, are all around us. Thanks to this initiative, the company grew even more and became a well-known name in the industry. Alex, thank you so much. Because of you, we've been able to recruit incredible talent and grow as a company. No, I should be the one thanking you. If you hadn't let me join, I wouldn't have been able to contribute. Ah, I guess that means I had a good eye for talent. You certainly did. At that, Mr. Ken's expression turned serious. Then, can I trust my judgment and ask you for something important? Yes. I'd like to name you as the next CEO of this company. What? I believe you're the right person for the job. You dedicate yourself wholeheartedly to what you do and inspire those around you. That's the kind of leader this company needs. All right, I may still be inexperienced, but for the future of this company, I'll give it my all. Having praised his judgment, I couldn't exactly refuse. He got the better of me there. Still, being recognized for my abilities was genuinely gratifying. From here on, I want to continue creating an environment where everyone can shine and make the most of their talents.